Welcome, fans, to another edition of the Great North Wrestling Podcast. My name is Jack Kilby, and we're very, very pleased today to have the one, the only ECW original Pitbull Gary Wolf on the podcast, former World ECW TV champion, and of course, tag team champion. Gary, how are you doing tonight? And thanks for coming on, man.
I'm doing cool, man. What's happening? I'm very happy to be on, and that's right. I am the original Pitbull #1, Gary Wolf, brother.
Absolutely. I wanted to ask you, growing up in the Northeast, what territory or wrestler influenced you and made you a fan of the business?
The business?
Wrestling, yeah.
Yeah. I grew up watching wrestling with my grandpa. I'm not gonna lie. I love Superstar Billy Graham. Love Bruno Sammartino. When I was younger, I was baby faced. You know what I mean? But I was very intrigued when I did see Jimmy Superfly Snuka jump off the cage on Prism television and hit Don Morocco. You know what I mean? And then later on down the road, I meet Don Morocco, and he gives me my names, and he introduces me to people like King Curtis and Kevin Sullivan. And next thing you know, I'm working all over the place, bro. It's very insane how this world works.
So what was did you have a moment or an epiphany, if you will, where you went from a fan to the point where you decided that you really wanted to do this as a career and decided to be a wrestler?
I had my own business on the boardwalk, Italian ice carts, hot dog stand, cheesesteak place on the beach between Morey's and Hunts Pier in New Jersey. So I was just following my family's business. I could have went back to Ocean City, Maryland, and did that work as well. But one night I was in the gym, and the gym owner's like, yo, you want to work security? At that time, in Wildwood, New Jersey, Raw would come down and do it's like a Spectrum over there, kind of, not a Spectrum, boardwalk hall, they called it. So it probably held almost 2,000. So at that time, Raw was like, cool, with that. It's packed, it looks good for TV. So we go, yeah, we'll do security. At the time, we didn't even think about wrestling. I mean, I always been a wrestling fan. Don't get me wrong. Always, my whole life. But then I was like, wow, let's go check out that ring, So we had keys. We snuck in. Like, it was a Monday afternoon. They don't come till Monday night. And they film it. So we get in there, and we start bumping and shit, and we don't know what we're doing. So the ring just kicked our ass, and it was me, Anthony, Crybaby Waldo at the time, and Andy Bernowski, who is now Leatherface in the movies. And I remember Dick Worley was actually sitting in the stands watching it. And he was just like, wow, man, like that guy, Andy, because he was real tall. He was like 6'8", 6'7", 6'8", 6'9". And shredded wheat, he was a bodybuilder at that time. But you see how big he got now. He did Bruce Willis's movie, did Batman's movie. He lives in California now. When I'm down there, I do visit him. But he looked at him and said, "That's the next Hulk Hogan." And I was like, "Wow." I mean, that says something there, But that's how his physique was, But yeah, I mean, I remember after that night, we watched the show. We met the Bulldogs. We met a bunch of guys that were on Raw. And everybody was really cool with us. And we bounced at a club, so of course we invited them, after work. You're staying, you might as well come to the club party before you leave, So they all came out and hung out. So I didn't know what wrestlers were. I didn't know how they acted, but they were really nice to us. And we bumped in the ring, and I'm not going to lie, the next day I felt like I got hit by a Mack truck. I was a bodybuilder at that time. I would work out and train, but I couldn't train for about 2 weeks. That's how, we were hurting. And later on, we started fucking around, you know what I mean? We'd go out to the beach, and, I got people working for me. So we'd be in the water, like 3 feet of water up to our knees. And we would start practicing suplexes and shit. We would do it in the water. And eventually we said, yo, we think we can do this. You know, we just got to get used to that mat. You know what I mean? Like, what's the secret? You got to learn how to fall. You know what I mean? So we kind of got the scientific down, you know, because we talked to the guys. You know, they always said you got to protect each other. You got to protect each other. You know, so I was like, okay, I get it. So next thing you know, summer's almost done, and Anthony's like, yo, I found out the Monster Factory is in fucking Paulsboro, New Jersey. I mean, that's only like 40 minutes for me, and you're almost in Philly soon. That's like 20 minutes for you. We can't be any closer. People move from Vegas to come here and work, like The Godfather. You know, uh, King Kong Bundy was lucky because he was in Atlantic City. He didn't have to go far at all. You know, the Giant, he had to come from Vegas too, like The Godfather, who was Bear when he went to Japan first. You know, so next thing you know, my partner, we came home and we were both saying we'll never do it. Finally, my partner said, you know what, I'm going to go join. So I said, all right, he went and joined. And 30 days later, I joined. I met Larry. And at that time, it was $3,000 to go to school. But shit, man, I seen who went out of that school already. You know, Bammer was just leaving. Bear was just leaving, like I said. Raven was there. Well, so many guys went through there, man, especially after we left. You know, so we were very lucky to live next to the school. It wasn't a far drive, and we hit that place 4 nights a week, bro. Hardcore. Besides what we did for a living, working during the day, you know.
What stands out in terms of your training that those going through various developmental systems and even private schools today might not appreciate or have the same experience?
Well, going to a pro wrestling school at that time, 88, 89, we were very lucky because that actually got us in the territories. So we did the Memphis territory, we did the Tennessee territory, Indiana territory, that big, Jarrett area, that Jerry Lawler area we did. Then we were in North Carolina. We did South Atlantic. We worked for Paul Jones and George Scott 6 nights a week. You know, I was on the road with Ken Shamrock, who was Vince Torelli, Katanka, who was Rookie of the Year. It was called Chris Chavis. I mean, we trained them guys because they were, once they came out of the factory, at least Chavis did. Kenny came out of the fucking UFC. I mean, he was doing Pride and Pancrase in Japan, and I'm trying to show this guy how to work. I remember he tore my partner's lap right off his body, man, with a real stiff snap suplex. That's how, because me and my partner, we were training every day at Jimmy Steamboat's lifting gym. We were there. We would see Flair there doing a Stairmaster, sweating tons of booze out of his body. Holyfield will be there working out. Lee Haney would be training there, Mr. Olympia at the time. And Ricky Steamboat was so generous. He was just like, you're the boys. I don't charge you nothing. You know what I'm saying? And we got in the stud stable down there, which that means we became heels, man. We were faces when we got there, and the Nasty Boys were the heels. We turned the Nasty Boys heels. I mean, baby faces. That's what we did.
Wow.
Yeah, they would never let us do anything heel. I would beg every time we did TV, brother. I'd be like, come on, George. Mr. Jones, please, man. And there's like, this film costs money. It's for TV. Because we were on television every weekend. And finally they were like, all right, we'll let you guys go. But let this be the end of it. You know what I mean? And we cut a heel promo, and George's mouth was on the ground, and Paul was just grabbing his face, and he's just like, holy shit, you guys are natural heels. It's awesome. Because we just told the truth, you know what I mean? That's how we always were, that way. That's how we were always that way. And they put us in the stud stable with Matt Bourne, and eventually the Nasty Boys, I think they brought them back as heels and they put them with us. But when we would go hit the territories as the stud stable, the new stud stable, he would bring Matt Bourne, me, U.S. Mail, and my partner, the Pit Bulldogs, they called us then. And we got to do a lot of territory work, which we enjoyed. And thank God we did, because that helped us. That helped us work. That's how I met Jerry Lynn one night in Tennessee. We were at some place. We sold a joint out. And quick story. I told him take a face bump into the fucking apron, you know what I'm saying? So he took it, but he busted his own head open. He didn't realize, a piece of metal was sticking out, and he came up and he was covered with gushing with blood. I'm like, oh, baby, we're going back in the ring with this shit, man. We're in Tennessee. You're bleeding. This is the way to go, and we turned the crowd insanely against us that night because they seen color, and they seen color early because we got to the back, man. The Jarretts and Lawler and all them guys were going crazy. Like, what are you doing, man? Who told you to get color? Who told you? And poor Jerry was like, man, it was an accident. I'm telling you, it was an accident. And they were so mad because they didn't get color till the last match. Back then they believed. They believed. And the next night he was working somebody else, and that same wound opened up, and he got heat again, man. He never told me that till, I don't know, maybe 8 months ago when I see him in New York. He was like, I don't know if I told you this, but the next night, man, I got in trouble again. I was like, that was crazy, bro. That was crazy. But back then, that's how it was. You start off with a small match at the beginning and you work your way up to the main event. That's how I was taught. Nowadays, shows are starting off with a match that should be main event. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to follow that?
Mm-hmm. How did you and Anthony come up with? I know you first went by the moniker American Bulldogs. How did you come up with the Pit Bull name?
The American Bulldogs was a gimmick because we were in the Carolinas. We were the American Pit Bulls because that was our first tour ever. We were in New Zealand against the British Bulldogs. So they had to call us the American Pit Bulls versus the British Bulldogs because that's a British Commonwealth country. So we went there as heels against the Bulldogs for 2 weeks. That ended up turning into like 4 more or 5 more tours. Next thing you know, we're there with the Guerrero brothers, which is Eddie Guerrero's dad and Rey Mysterio's father, Hondo and Mondo and Hondo, them guys. That's experience you can't. Where am I going to get that experience from? You know what I'm saying? Next thing you know, we're back against the Bushwhackers, which, from New Zealand, they were the Sheet Herbert or something like that. Massive fucking overness. And we were in front of 55,000 people. This was our first time ever leaving the country, and this is who we were working. Another time it was Steve Strong and Hondo Guerrero. And I don't know if you remember Steve Strong. He's a real monster guy with long blonde hair, big dude, big cat. And Don Morocco came up with that tour. And King Curtis got us on that tour because they made that tour out of Hawaii. And that's how we got hooked up because we were very tight with the Wild Samoans. That's why when we were still at wrestling school learning, we would do independent shows and we would work the Samoans. And next thing you know, the Samoans are like, whoa, that was easy night working with those kids. You know what I'm saying? So they would go work for somebody else. And the promoter's like, who would you like us to bring in for you guys to work for? That's how it was back in the day. You know what I'm saying? And they would say, bring in the Pit Bulls. And the promoter would call us up and say, yo, you want to do the Samoans? I'm like, hell yeah, man. We wrestled them last weekend. That was awesome. Hell yeah. And that's how shit started going down. Like, they would talk to other wrestlers, and before you know it, I got Cowboy Bob Orton calling us up saying, yo, I'm in a tag match with me and somebody else, and we want you guys to come in. And we're like, hell yeah, and that's how we were lucky, And Don Morocco said, hey, you're Rabbit Rex and you're Psychotic Spike, and that's your name, the Pit Bulls, And we went to North Carolina, they called us the Pit Bulldogs. And once we turned heel, that changed. We were the Pit Bulls then. They called us the Pit Bulldogs. That's what they called them.
Awesome. Around, and correct me if I'm wrong, you around 89, 90-ish, you began doing enhancement work with the WWF and fought some. I mean, I looked at some of the the matches on Superstars, and in hindsight, I'm like, holy cow, that would have been a main event anywhere in the country. What was your initial experience working enhancement work with the WWF, and how did that come about?
That was in 88 and 89. That was great. I loved it, man. It was awesome. That's how I learned what was going on. I mean, I was going to school beating the shit out of each other. Me and my boys, we were going to wrestling school, and no lie, I mean, we were chopping like they do on television right now. We were doing that in our school. We didn't care. We didn't give a shit. I would do, I don't know, 500 bumps a night, whatever I could do, until I didn't feel anything. And then next thing you know, I mean, Larry's like, all right, listen, guys, I want you to drive to Niagara Falls. It's about an 8-hour ride. Get your cars, a couple guys, and let's go. About 6, 7 guys, go. Get some experience. So we went up there, introduced ourselves, worked that night. Everybody had to work different people. They put me and Anthony together. They didn't even know we were a tag team. Okay? Like, they had no idea we were even thinking about being a tag team. This is before we even went away to wrestle in New Zealand. Okay, this is in that same area a year, but we didn't go to New Zealand yet. So, they put me and Anthony together, and we were like, okay, this is cool. You know what I mean? Like, we were doing some tag stuff anyway, but this is now we get to work the Hart Foundation tag team. Now let's see what if it clicks and see what happens. So every time they liked us, and they ended up hiring us, and they wanted to use us when they were in the area. And we accepted that because we were getting experience. Because after that first night of work, and the Hart Foundation was the first team we went against as a team, we realized, holy shit, this is how you work. Not what we're doing in school. What we're doing in school is we're learning shit, but we're beating each other up. We're not taking care of each other. This is different. Like, that's when I learned. I mean, when I got in the ring with Akeem and the boss man, I let the boss man handcuff me and beat the shit out of me with that nightstick. I didn't feel a thing. You know what I mean? And I sold that like he was killing me. And when Akeem hit me with an elbow, I totally disappeared. You didn't see my body. I was gone. It's like he gave me an elbow into the dust. I turned to dust. That's how vicious it looked. And I didn't feel a thing. That's when I realized, holy shit, now I know, now I understand how it is to work all these nights, every night in a row. I wasn't in a territory yet where I was wrestling 6 nights a week yet. But now I understood. I said to myself, oh, this is how you work. And that's how you can go 6 nights a week and do this. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I learned a lot. And the shit I seen there was unbelievable. Crazy shit.
So the pit bulls were, I believe, and a lot of people believe, crucial to the explosion of the ECW phenomenon. And I can remember becoming a fan of ECW by watching your matches. Can you speak on how you got involved in ECW, and whether or not a lot of people talk about in the modern era about Paul Heyman and his genius and his development of ECW, but Todd Gordon seems to be I won't say overlooked, but certainly his initial involvement in the company and getting it out of the embryonic stage seems to be less popular narrative than Heyman. If you could briefly speak on that.
I'm gonna be honest with you, brother. We're ECW originals. We were in Tri-State Wrestling Alliance, which was at the time owned by Todd Gordon and Joel Goodhart. Okay, we didn't have no bookers. Todd Gordon was the booker. You know what I mean? Eventually that turned into Eastern Championship Wrestling, so he would bring in all kinds of people. We were with them back then. I was in Tri-State Wrestling Alliance, and I remember I was in the locker room, and the first time I met Abdul the Butcher and Ric Flair, first time ever. We wrestled the first match. We had some crazy battle match with all kinds of weapons and shit, and they put me and Anthony over because we were getting ready. We had Japan looking at us at that time already. And we got over and we were supposed to go back out and do something with Abby where he's going to put a bunch of blades on each hand and just gig everybody. That was kind of the extreme thing we were doing at that point. And I remember Ric Flair was like, "You guys the pit bulls?" And we're like, "Yeah, how you doing? We were nice. We showered up, all cleaned up because we were first match. They were like main event and shit. The Nature Boy Buddy Rose was on it as well, and Buddy Landell. And they had a lot of talent on the show, believe it or not, a lot of big names. Flair, like I said. Next thing I know, man, he's like, "You're doing that match?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "Nah, you guys ain't doing shit. You're gonna sit up here and hang out. I want you to watch my stuff." And then he handed me his Rolex and his diamonds, and Abby gave Anthony all his diamonds and his watch, and we had to have $500,000 worth of jewels in our hands easily. That's no bullshit, bro. And he's like, "You sit put, watch it on the video, but don't let nobody take our shit. Keep an eye on it." And we did that, and that's what he told us to do, and that's what we did. And I didn't care what the booker or the promoter said at that point. You know what I mean? So that got us some points, and Flair liked us after that, and he said he heard about us. And even when I was in North Carolina, man, he was always there with us. He was cool as hell. But like I said, I learned a lot that night, meeting them there. But we started with ECW when it was Tri-State. I remember Sandman was in the audience and he screamed, "Whoa, yo, how do you do this? Where do I go? I want to do this." I'm thinking that this is another guy, another Mark that's, bullshit, not going to do it. He stood up. I was surprised how tall he was. I was like, all right. I said, "Go to Joe Goodhart's got a school." Because at the time, I didn't have a school yet. I was honestly hacked, didn't realize I was green as hell. I was just, I was green. But then we were just starting to get our push. So next thing I know, I'm at the factory one night, and that's when it happened, Larry Sharps and Cowboy Bob Orton was sitting in the room, and he's like, "Listen," Vince called up and said, "Look, you got 3 places to go. You can go to Memphis, you can go to Charlotte, North Carolina, or Portland, Oregon. Where do you want to go? 6 nights a week, you're going to learn how to work. Get ready." So I was like, "Oh, shit." Come to find out, I didn't know Gorilla Monsoon was from New Jersey at that time. We're Jersey guys from New Jersey, South Jersey, in that area. And he liked us. The match against the Hart Foundation got us over. He's like, "Yo, they, in a good gimmick, those guys, once they found out our gimmick and what we're doing, they loved it, man. They were like, 'You're just like the Bulldogs.' I mean, after the Hart Foundation run, our Bulldog run would have been the next run. And that was guaranteed. So we said, we'll go to North Carolina. 8-hour drive. I said, all right, I'll leave fucking tomorrow night. At 9 o'clock, I'm leaving. I didn't realize I was going to get there so quick. We didn't have no computers, no phones back then. We had pagers, and our maps were in big fucking pieces of paper. You know what I mean? I didn't even know how long it's going to take to get to Charlotte, North Carolina. So I drove there. I got there at 4 o'clock in the morning. We only got $30 in our pocket. And I'm saying to myself, like, I ain't gonna sleep in this car. I didn't know what I was doing. No lie, I called George Scott, woke him up at 4 a.m. He was so pissed, man. He was so pissed. He got us a room, but he made it very clear. Don't you ever do that again. Because if you do, I'm going to teach you a fucking lesson. I was like, yes, sir. No, sir. I'll never have it again. I went to military school, so I know. He meant it.
I've got a question from my partner on the Old School Shooters podcast, another podcast that we do here on the Hannibal TV. It's from the Granimal, the King of Connecticut. And he says, do you feel Paul Heyman double-crossed you and the ECW wrestlers by working for the WWF while bashing them to the talent, lining his own pockets?
Yeah, I had a very influential person tell me once, you can listen to Paul Heyman, but only 10% of it's going to be true. So I never had a problem with that. I mean, I always got my money. You know what I'm saying? So I did hear he did owe a lot of guys cash. I didn't have a problem with him working with Vince, but why didn't he push for me and Anthony more? Just because we got in trouble doing something stupid? You know what I mean? We did something stupid, big deal. I mean, it's legal. What we did is a slap on the wrist compared to what other people have done that work for Vince McMahon. So, I mean, it's not a big deal. He could have put a word in for us. I mean, shit, man. They were still checking us out in 1998. They were still calling us up, coming back. Come back. We want to look at you again. Come on, man. They were going to put us, Terry Reynolds with us. That's when they brought us back and we wrestled the Headbangers. I mean, come on, man. We had a good match. It was cake. We didn't go. You know what we could have done in that match. You know what I'm saying? Please. We were definitely holding back because they made us hold back. But, they're playing games. You know what I mean? Next thing you know, I get a call from Purple Haze. They used to be with the Taskmaster in fucking Australia, Melbourne, Australia, and said, hey, I'm doing hardcore wrestling in Melbourne, Australia on TV. Right, we're on, and then rugby's next every weekend. Do you want a job? The Samoans are going to be there, Samoan SWAT team. The Bruise Brothers that were in ECW are going to be there. The Headhunters, the big two heavy-set guys that do moonsaults that were in ECW in Japan, they're going to be there. We want the Pit Bulls there. And the heavyweight champ was Nails. Hawk was there. Dude, we were the fucking champs. Out of all them tag teams, they gave the belts to us. We were on Good Morning Melbourne. We were on Good Morning Sydney, Adelaide, Brisbane. We were doing Good Morning shows at 6 o'clock in the morning, man. Shit, you know how rough that is after working at night? And then, because we were wrestling 4 nights a week there, which ain't bad, but it's hardcore. 4 nights a week hardcore. Shit, we had a guy that was from Thailand, professional ankle taper from Thailand for Thai boxing. So we got injured ourselves. Like I twisted my ankle once or twice, and no lie, this motherfucker could tape an ankle, bro. He was a pro. He's ready to hit me with shots and shit. I'm like, I don't want no shot. I don't want no shot. That's how insane they were back over there. But oh yeah, we were drawing 13s on television. Dude, a 13 on TV in Australia is awesome. That's unbelievable. Shit, our fucking backers were loving it. I mean, no lie, like they couldn't believe it. Like the guys from Channel 3 would come over to my hotel room. We lived in a hotel super suite, and they paid for every room. So all I had to do was pay for my food, and most of my money I would send home. I would sell it right to my bank or whatever it was back then. I'd wire it to my bank account. But it was a good experience, and like I said, you can't wait on it. I wanted to go back and work for them. It was time. We grew up a lot. We were older. It's a business. That's why when WCW came knocking on the door, we were like, absolutely, we want to work for you. I'm ready. Absolutely.
I read that you were about to sign with WCW and feud with the Steiners, which would have been Hall of Fame material there. What happened that didn't come to fruition?
Vince bought him. Dude, I'm sitting home on the couch, bro. Eric Bischoff, Diamond Dallas Page, Terry Taylor, Raven, and Kevin Sullivan. 5 motherfuckers are on the phone on one call. They call me up at my house because I would handle the booking for me and Anthony. And they're like, yo, you ready to jump? You guys been loyal to Paul for a while. You know what I mean? And I said, yeah, we already gave him our 2-week notice. They said, I'll be honest with you. We're going to probably go back to Japan, or go overseas again. We always got a ton of work in Germany, London, New Zealand, Australia, Puerto Rico. We had the titles. You know what I mean? Japan, we had the titles. Wings, FMW, not just New Japan. We worked for a lot of companies in Japan. So, I mean, at one point, I'm not going to lie to you. I was like, I don't care if I work in the United States. I was going away 2 or 3 times a month on a tour, bringing home a nice lump sum of cash at that point. I didn't really give a shit. And I know what they're going through. They're working on 365 days a year. And they got an A card, a B card, and a C card. So I seen that. I was there. I worked for them. That's a rough job. You know what I mean? I may not be here today if I had that job. Just like
No doubt.
a lot of my brothers are not here because of that.
So going back to ECW, I mean, the list of legendary Hall of Fame or should be in Hall of Fame tag teams that the Pitbulls faced is almost unexhaustive. Out of all of those teams, do you have a favorite rivalry or series of program or matches that you can pinpoint? I know that's a really difficult question.
I'll tell you two guys right now that should be in the Hall of Fame without a doubt. And that's Gordy and Dr. Death. When me and my partner wrestled them, that was incredible and an honor. You know what I'm saying? Like, because we learned a lot. They should be in the Hall of Fame. Come on, man. Please. There was a Canadian, LaFont.
Furnace and LaFont.
And Furness. Oh, my God, bro. People, they work for Vince McMahon. How can Vince McMahon not push them? I mean, we had unbelievable matches with those guys. That's how, because they're Japan style. We should have went to work for Vince, but New Japan came knocking. You know what I mean? I asked Vince, I said, listen, can you match this? This is what they're going to pay us a week. Can you match this? And if you can, I'll be happy to work for you. He said no. So I said, okay. I said, well, we're going to do Japan and then we'll come back and it's up to you. I said, oh, by the way, P.S., we're going to be worth more money when I come back from Japan because now I'm going to have a name. So we'll talk to you then. And that's how we talk. You know what I'm saying? Business is business. That's all.
So one of the most memorable angles that you were involved in that a lot of people still remark on this day is the issue with Shane Douglas where your neck was broken, and then where you came back and was wearing the halo, and the franchise threw you down, and there were those taunting promos that he cut, et cetera, and also I believe Francine, who was managing the Pitbulls at the time, switched heel and went with Shane. Can you? I think it's important for the modern fan base to get a sense of the heat that was associated with that angle in the arena and all around the loop. Can you speak to how that angle really made the fans believe and get invested?
Yeah, I mean, especially when we put Francine through the table. You know what I mean? We were the first tag team ever to super bomb a girl through a table. I don't care what anybody says. We were the first. When Francine was with us, when she first started with us, she was a little girl. She was nobody. She learned from us, and being in the business, being in the locker room, and she picked it up. Plus, she was trained. It was the time came. The angle was perfect. I didn't think I was going to break my neck that night when she turned on us. It just so happened I broke my neck. Besides her turning on us, I broke my fucking neck. It was perfect. It wasn't planned. I took a bad bump. I fucked it up. It was a complete mess. At the time, I didn't want to believe I fucked it up, but after watching it, I realized, and after seeing Anthony take the same bump, I realized I did take it wrong. They didn't want to fuck with it, bro. Once they found out I broke my neck, everybody was freaking out. Everybody was freaking out. Shane Douglas didn't even believe it when Todd called him. Shane thought, oh, man, you're just ribbing me. This is a joke, blah, blah, blah. He's like, nah, man, I was just at the hospital, man. His fucking neck is broke. Like, this ain't no bullshit, and I'm like, I was even scared because I broke it Saturday. I didn't know it was broke till Monday. I was just in pain, but I figured in my mind, I said to myself, if I break my neck, I die or I get paralyzed. You know what I mean? So, because I knew somebody that happened to, God forbid. I love them. I was just like, this is insanity. Maybe I just jammed it. You know what I mean? So, I'm not going to lie. I was on pain gimmicks because I was hurting. But Sunday, I said, I'm not going to take any pain gimmick. Sunday night, I said, you know what? Let me just see what's going on. Something ain't right. Damn. I woke up. I didn't even sleep Sunday. So I was up Monday morning like, what the fuck, man? I'm hurting now. Like, I can't even move my neck. But I knew I couldn't sneeze. Like, I was being real careful, dude, because I didn't know what was going on. Thank God I didn't sneeze. So me and the boys, every Monday, we would go to our chiropractor. Same chiropractor I've seen probably 25 years, 30 years almost. He knew our bodies, all of them. And as soon as I walked in, he was just like, what the fuck's wrong with you? You know what I mean? It was like, you shit your pants, piss yourself. I'm like, no. He's like, here's a prescription. Get the fuck out of here. My machine's down. Go to the Jefferson Hospital, spinal person area over there. You got to go. Go. Get a fucking test. So they gave me a CAT scan. I walked in there when I gave them the fucking thing, the prescription. And at first they're all, ignoring me and shit. As soon as they seen CAT scan for broken neck, they were just like, yo, get your ass in here now. You know what I mean? Lay down, they strap me down. They put me in the machine and pull me out. Next thing you know, man, I'm getting strapped down even more. And I'm like, can I get up? I have to go take a leak. You know what I'm saying? I've been holding it like this whole time. And they're like, you ain't going nowhere. Your neck's broken. And I just looked at them like, what? Like, my neck's broke. I said, if my neck's broke, I'd be like paralyzed, right? They're like, yeah, we don't understand that. You broke C1. That's what we don't understand. And I'm just like, that's when I got scared. And I was like, oh, fuck. Like, I didn't even want to call my parents. You know what I mean? At that point, I'm in my early 30s, So I had to call one of my friends to bring me some real food because I couldn't hack that. The doctor came and saw me super special. He was like my age, maybe a year or two younger. So he was real cool. He just looked at me and was like, well, you got a broken neck. We don't know what we're going to do. I don't know if I have to fuse you or all I know is we're stumped. Like, I'm stumped that I'm actually sitting here having a fucking conversation with you. That's what he told me. So I was just like, okay, he goes, I'll see you in the morning. They put me in this fucking Miami collar. It's a real stiff one. And that hurt like a son of a bitch, man. I was just like, man, now I'm really in pain. Like, fuck. So I didn't sleep all morning. I just remember at 7 a.m., man, 15 doctors came in my room. And just surrounded my bed, looking at me, looking at my x-rays, and trying to figure out how in the hell am I still fucking talking, not alone, dead. And they said pretty much they came to the conclusion after a while, man, they go, your muscle saved your life. Because everything was just so tight. My traps were tight. Everything was like, you'll pull up some pictures of me and put it out there when, you know what I'm saying, and you'll see what I'm saying. My traps were touching my ears at that point. I mean, I had the TV belt before I broke my neck. I mean, my traps were huge. And believe me, that saved my life. That was the only conclusion they can come to. And I was lucky because they didn't have to fuse me. The muscle was so tight and so good that when it broke, the disc broke like a donut, like cracked, just like that. But it didn't go like that. That would have killed me or paralyzed me. It just broke just like that. So I had enough where my traps actually saved me, and that saved my life. So I was very lucky, very, 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 very lucky. Thank God for World Gym for sponsoring me. Thank God they had a neck machine there that I would always use, and that saved my life, man. Believe me.
Yeah, I had a similar experience when I hit a bus head on many years ago and smashed the steering wheel, and they said your trap saved you paralysis here. So, yeah, thank God for shrugs, eh? Got a fan question that I'm going to add a little bit to. Jeff added or asks, who is your favorite opponent to wrestle in tag team and singles? And one of the questions that I had was, did you prefer to be a singles wrestler or a tag wrestler?
I preferred to be a tag. I love doing singles. Singles, the best wrestler I ever worked, and I loved working him was Justin Thunderlager. I would do 45-minute matches with that guy in Japan, and we would tear the house down. Dean Malenko is another guy that I loved as a single. Tag team, British Bulldogs, man, were awesome, man. Davey and Dynamite were great, and Johnny's another guy we worked also from the Bulldogs, and they were always good. The Hart Foundation was always good to us. The Hart family was always good to us, and the Samoans. Samoans were extremely generous in helping with our career, helping us get booked places, and teaching us, like Larry Sharp, they taught us the right way.
So keeping on the tag team theme, you were, an integral component of, what a lot of people look back fondly as the golden age of tag team wrestling. And when I was a kid, what turned me on to the sport was tag team wrestling. Do you have any idea why, nowadays tag team wrestling, and actually for quite some time, has fallen out of, a lot of the main event slots and on TV? I mean, there's some great teams out there, the Samoans, et cetera, but they don't seem to be in the prominent position that they were headlining shows back in the day.
Well, I think AEW is bringing that back. I mean, they're even bringing back like the 6-man, which I think should have been back. The Freebirds, bro. Come on, man. That was an iconic fucking group. Iconic fucking. They had their own fucking music video, their own song. That song made a lot of fucking money. It's a shame those guys didn't sign the deal because they would have pocketed that cash. You know what I mean? That was a good gimmick. You know what I'm saying? That's why, I'm the pit bull. I'm the Mad Dogs of War. That's what I'm doing now. I'm setting up a Freebird gimmick kind of. You know what I mean? We're called the Mad Dogs of War. 6-man, 6-person tag team champion. Vince never liked doing tag teams because he's got to pay 4 guys. That's how it's always been. You know what I mean? That's what happened. I don't know why. Nobody cared. WCW didn't care. I mean, if Vince didn't buy them, I was signing a deal. I mean, they were signing us a 3-year deal, and I guarantee we would have got another 3 years out of it. And then we probably would have retired because they were giving us enough money that we would have retired. Absolutely. I mean, if my partner was alive today, I'm still in shape. He'd be still in shape. We'd still be working right now. Come on, please.
Absolutely. I wanted to also ask you about the phenomenon of the many ECW reunion shows and the WWE ECW reboot. Are you one of the individuals from the original ECW that felt that Vince McMahon brought back ECW to, for lack of a more sophisticated term, kill it because of the continuing love and fan reaction that he was hearing in the arenas? Or what's your take on that?
My take is absolutely correct. That's what he wanted to do. But the only thing he didn't do was take the fans' voice out of their mouth. And now that's why you hear, "This is awesome. You suck dick." You know what I mean? This is the shits. You know what I mean? Or you get your chance now, folks, from ECW. We did that. Joey Styles got the people into it so much. We got the people into it so much that if we fucked up, they let us know we fucked up. We were in front of smart marks. We weren't in front of just a regular old wrestling fan. We were in front of people that you can't fool these people. And if you try to fool them, they're going to make a fool out of you. That's why I always tell people, if you never worked in that building, the 2300 Arena, the ECW original building, if you've never been there, you better have your fucking tight pants on, man. The best pants you got that night. You better be ready to go because that's the night that can make you or can break you. I've told many guys that. Many guys that went there and did great, and dude, their careers are really becoming spectacular. I mean, they're in WWF, they're in AEW, they've been everywhere because they were in that building first. I don't care what anybody says. And then there's guys that have been in that building one time, that's all it took, and you never heard from them again. You know what I mean? So I just always say, make sure you give it your best and don't try to think that people are stupid because they're not. You know what I mean? Give them the real deal.
Is there any reason? I know you did a promo for the first WWE One Night Stand. Is there any reason why you weren't involved in the second one?
The second one or the show itself?
The show itself.
Yeah, I wasn't happy about that. I was kind of pissed about that. I mean, as soon as I got there, I was already hit by Taz. I was already hit by Tommy Dreamer. They're like, Vince wants you to cut the promo. You got to do it in the catering room. And I'm thinking, okay, I got to cut a promo, no problem. They know I'm good at promos, so it was no big deal. But I didn't know all the boys are going to be in the room, you know. So I got all the guys. I got Eddie Guerrero. You know, all these guys are in the room that, you know, Chris Jericho, Chris Benoit, you know, all the guys that we used to go to Japan with, you know what I mean? And Dean Malenko, and that was our clique. Owen Hart, you know, back then he would be with us, and it was upsetting, you know what I mean? Because I'm like, all right, I'll cut it, you know. So I cut it real quick, and next thing I know, he's like, nah, you got to do it this way. And he started like fucking with me right from the get-go to see if I could handle the pressure, you know what I'm saying? But he wanted me to be in character and then not be in character. It was kind of hard when I got all these guys crying in front of me, you know, and I'm looking at them and they're all fucking crying because they know, look at the list of the guys that passed away. Look how many. You know what I'm saying? And they all knew that. They were all friends with them. So that kind of started stressing me out. So I got through that and cut the promo. Wasn't happy with it, but as long as Vince was happy, that's all that mattered. So then I hung out with Steve for a little while, and then they were getting ready to do the lineup, and they're like, "All right, we're going to start coming out, you know, toward the end, and where it's ECW versus WWF." And they're like, "All right, Gary, you're first. Pitbull, you're first. You're first. You're first." I looked at Steve, and he just shook his head. I was like, fuck that, man. I said, nah, I'll go out last. Which was stupid on my part. I should have went first because that would have gave me a lot of good TV coverage. But at the time, it was just, I don't know, I was aggravated. Because I was okay. I could have wrestled. I was in really good shape. I was ready to rock and roll, man. Singles, tag, I could have did anything. 6-man, they could have put me in anything. So I wasn't happy about that. So I came out last, of course. Didn't get that shot on television, which I could have got if I went out first. But, you know what I mean? You do shit and you learn from your mistake. You know what I mean?
Got a fan question here from Joe Root asking, did you get along with the late, great New Jack?
Unbelievably well. People probably don't even know that. Me and Jack were extremely close. Like, we would make sure every 2 weeks, one of us would be calling the other to make sure we're cool. You know what I'm saying? And it sucked that he passed away because I was with him the prior week. And then we got another gig in California. So the next week we were rolling on Thursday to go to California, LAX, man. East LA, we were going to do a signing, man. Great pay. And the Thursday night, I think the night or two before we were leaving, he passed away, man, that morning. And I was in shock. I was fucking pissed. Because I talked to him the night before, and he was fine. So we had a scramble, and Mustafa was in Northern California anyway, so he just flew down to LA, and they put him on again, me and him, did the signing, and we did it for Mustafa for New Jack because he couldn't make it. So we still covered it, and yeah, it sucked losing him. He was a very good person. A lot of people don't realize Jack was, he was Jerome, and then he was New Jack. New Jack's a gimmick, man. People still don't understand that. You know what I'm saying? A gimmick's a gimmick. He'll still stab you in the ring because he's New Jack. But I used to get calls from a lot of people that were afraid to talk to him. I'm like, dude, it's a work. I mean, come on, man. Yeah, he's tough. He will fuck you up if you fucking do something stupid, but don't ask me to protect you. You know what I'm saying? Just talk to him like a man, It's crazy.
Speaking of ECW reunion type shows, the Great North Wrestling podcast is heavy on the Canadian content. And I first met you in 2013 in London, Ontario for a organization called Hardcore Road Trip, which initially branded itself ECW in Canada. And it was a stacked, sold out 2 shows over one day with many ECW originals, including our guest on the podcast last week, the great Kingpin Angel Medina, and saw you wrestle there. Hadn't lost a step, and very financially successful couple of shows, it seemed. And then the next year there was another one, and kind of went off the rails with a lot of the boys not getting paid, the promoter allegedly faking a heart attack, et cetera, et cetera. And I was looking forward to seeing you again. And I think you were advertised, but didn't end up, thankfully, making the show. What are your recollections of that debacle?
Yeah, I think they reached out to me, but then I think they pulled me because how much I wanted. I wanted the same as I got before. But then I don't know. Something else came up, and I didn't do the tour, but I'm glad I didn't because, like I said, a lot of my friends were stuck there. Like fans, I got to give a shout out to the Canadian fans because they really stepped it up and covered for this guy. And they drove a lot of guys all the way home to the United States, man. I couldn't believe the stories that I was hearing. Like they were putting guys up at their house, letting them stay there for a few days until they got organized and said, okay, we're going to take the road trip and get you home. Guys that couldn't get flights, you know what I'm saying? Or even a ride to Buffalo so they could get a flight. So a big shout out to the Canadian fans because I was very, very, very impressed that they stepped up and made sure all the boys got home. A lot of my friends stayed in Canada. They loved it so much. They stayed for months and months and months at a time. So you must have been doing something right because they had a good time and they were very, very happy. You guys helped them get home. That was awesome.
Angel mentioned that he is still the first and reigning and defending Hardcore Road Trip champion, and he indicated that he might be willing to put that belt up in a rematch situation with you. Would that be something you'd be interested in, Gary?
Absolutely. Yeah, I know Angel well.
Great guy.
He's a great guy. He's a good wrestler. And yeah, man, we'll rock and roll hardcore style. You know what I mean? I'm still picking up gold. I could collect some gold, man. I have no problem with that.
I'm sure the fans would love to see that. Got another fan question from Joe again, asking any word on Perry Saturn, who seems to have gone off the radar again.
I don't know, man. You're like the second or third person that hit me up about that. I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. At one time I was doing a show for, I think it was for Shane Douglas, East, I don't know, hardcore something. I don't know. It was in Pennsylvania, and they were both. What was it?
Extreme Rising, maybe.
Something like that. And they brought Perry in. I mean, we had a 3,500 house. I mean, it was nice house, And Perry was there, and I was like, well, shit, man. I said, you look good. I'm in shape. I said, why don't we tag up? One of the Eliminators, one of the Pitbulls. I think we got a good look. You got the shaved head, the tattoo. I got the long hair. I said, why don't we do something? And it just didn't work out. Like, I was supposed to wrestle Raven that night, and he won't even get in the ring and work with me. He was like, oh, my shoulder's messed up. I'm like, what's going on here? There's 3,500 people here. Let's rock the house. You know what I'm saying? So next thing I know, I'm by myself wrestling 3 other guys. Sandman comes in, makes the save, drinks the beer. Raven walks out with his lackeys, and that's who I'm wrestling. And that's what it turned into. You know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? I'm ready to work, and they just want to do an angle. Some guys are sometimes back in them days, either they were hurt or they're lazy. You know what I mean?
Got another fan question from Christina asking, did you ever have butterflies in your stomach before a match? And if so, what match?
I think you should have butterflies in your stomach before every match. Once I stop having butterflies in my stomach, that means I'm not loving what I'm doing. So, now I want to feel that discomfort a little bit. You know what I mean? Just until I get out there. Once I'm out there, it's a different story. You know what I'm saying? I'm at home. In the ring, it's my second home. So.
I wanted to get your thoughts on the current state of wrestling between WWE and AEW, and just focusing on the fact that back in the day, so to speak, wrestlers were physically imposing, like yourself, like Anthony and many others, hitting the gym. They would as Vince quoted one time, McMahon, the eye test. If you're walking through an airport, you're going to turn and look. That's a big dude. And it seems to that aspect of, mind you, they're still incredibly large individuals in the business, but especially in it seems like AEW, the workers are smaller and they look more like the everyman, so to speak. Do you think that's a good thing for the business, or no impact whatsoever, that there's not that larger than life aspect?
I mean, I'm old school, man. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I think these guys should be big. I think they should be going to the gym and training, getting in shape, look like a wrestler. Not a stunt guy, you're a wrestler. Look the part. I mean, they're getting hit. Listen, I watch AEW, I watch Vince McMahon stuff, but I'm not gonna lie, WWE's getting a lot better. Okay, I gotta tell you, WWE's getting a lot better. AEW's doing well, but they're starting to lose a lot of people. They're losing a lot of people because they're not selling. They're doing 5 finishes in one night, one match. You know what I mean? How many times can you kick out of a finish? You understand what I'm saying, bro?
Absolutely.
Tell a story. Psychology, man. There's psychology to our business. You know what I mean? It's a psychology's in our business. You're telling a story. Some stories are, oh my God, this guy's a superhero. You're not a superhero. You're a pro wrestler. You got to sell something. Watch Ricky Steamboat. Watch fucking Macho Man Randy Savage. That's people that can sell. Harley Race. Shit, Dusty Rhodes. That's people that can sell. Adrian Adonis. Come on, man. They're not studying their stuff, man. That's the thing. Yeah, when CM Punk was there, I could sit there and watch his matches, and no, he followed a same match that was in WWE, move for move. We're not stupid. Guys in the business, we know, we've seen it before. You know what I mean? But I'm not into I like to see people sell. You know what I'm saying? I don't like seeing 10 finishes in one match, guys kick out. I'm not going to lie. I love the Young Bucks. I think they are a great tag team. Okay. They have unbelievable skill, not because of what they do, because they've been together for so long. They know what each one's thinking. They're in and out at the same time. They're thinking the same time. They're doing the same shit. That's what makes a good tag team. You watch a tag team, they leave the ring, they enter the ring. If it's on time, if they're both on time and they're both clicking together, They don't have to say much together. You know what I mean? It's, drop toe hold elbow off the top. It's 2 seconds. Bang. I don't even have to use that many words. You know what I'm saying? And people don't realize that. Being a tag team, you have to be a tag team specialist. Okay, and anybody can say anything they want about tag teams. Oh, they were the best over. That doesn't mean they were the best tag team. They may have been over the best, but that's not mean they're not the best tag team. Watch the tag teams how they work. It's 2 guys, 4 guys. They have to work together. That's hard enough than 1-on-1. It's 2-on-2. Besides that, if they're both outside the ring and they both get in the ring and it's somewhat together, somewhat like, whoa, these guys are on the same page, that's another check. You know what I'm saying? So once I get the Tag Team Hall of Fame out there, brother, people will start respecting tag teams, okay?
Absolutely. And I would be remiss without touching on a subject in your career that really isn't as well known, and that is your experience as a trainer. Did you enjoy that aspect of the business? And I'm not sure. I know you were affiliated with one organization running their school. Do you still do that? And did you enjoy that?
Yeah, I had 3 schools that are called the Animal House. I had one in ECW, as Taz had his school in New York. Actually, I'm a good teacher, man. I'm not gonna lie. I enjoy it because I'm into getting into shape, especially before I went to Japan. It was like they drilled that in our head. Like, before you go to Japan, you better make sure that you could wrestle an hour. Nope, I'm not bullshitting you. They drilled it, and you got to do 500 free squats, and you got to be able to do this shit. Back then, that's what they told us, and they weren't lying because we were in shape, and when we got there, I looked at the board one night, and we were doing 30-minute matches, tag matches, and shit like that. And next night, they split us up, and they do that sometimes. And I'm working, he's working Chono, Master Chono. I'm working Thunder Liger. And I'm like, okay, I'm looking at the board still, and I see 45 minutes. I thought that was a rib at first. Dude, they were dead serious, man. Like, he came up to me and said 45 minutes. I'm like, yes, sir. Of course, 45 minutes. Absolutely. And luckily I could do 45, and we did 8 times that 3-week tour. So it may be different now. I've been hearing a lot of stories, I'm not gonna lie, that really shocked me because I wouldn't have heard it back then. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I didn't hit you hard enough, I would hear that. Not, you're hitting me too hard. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'd get yelled at for not hitting them hard enough. That's how it was in Japan. Until I, went to the dojo a couple times and I learned, you know what I mean? Like, shit, I understand. Okay. And you give and you get, and that's how it is there. But the money's so good, I didn't give a shit. Me and my partner were like, hey, for 2 weeks, we're going to go beat some motherfuckers up. Let's go. And that's how it was in my mind and in his mind as well. So.
Well, the hour has literally flown by. I wanted to ask you what's next for Gary Wolf. I know, speaking of ECW-esque shows, there's a big sold-out show happening in the former ECW arena in Philly coming up on the 17th. Did you want to talk about that and what else you have going on, Gary?
Yeah, it's called the Icons Battleground at Philadelphia 2300 Arena, which is the old ECW arena. It's going to be awesome. It's to the extreme. Todd Gordon's going to be there. He's going to make a special announcement. Rob Van Dam's getting inducted into the Hardcore Hall of Fame, which I've been a part of since 2014, which is an honor. Me and my partner. The show's already sold out to the max, man. It's going to be incredible. Also, I'm a part of and a founder of the Pro Wrestling Women's Hall of Fame, the Women's Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. Founded by Christopher Anoyo, Susan Tex Green, Angel Arsenio, and Gary Wolf, which is me. We have a website, Women's Wrestling Hall of Fame.com. Check it out, guys. We will be at the arena on the 17th for our first pro wrestling induction for the Women's Wrestling Hall of Fame, which was connected to the Circle of Champions, which is going to be a documentary that we're going to be putting the lid on that night. We're going to be inducting world famous Medusa, who was in the WWE and NWCW, Jazz, two-time champion from WWE, Luna Vachon, God rest her soul, she passed away, but she did manage me and my partner, the Pitbulls, for a while, which was an honor. So her and her ex-husband, David Gangrel, I will be inducting her into that with him, which is all going to be in the documentary because after that night, the lid is on it. Also, we have ambassadors of the Women's Hall of Fame, which is Angel Amoroso, Christina Marie, Sonny Kiss, another wrestler you guys have heard of. Circle of Champions, Evans Ginsberg, which was part of the wrestler. He's involved with that with us. Medusa, Jazz, like I said, Susan Tex Green. We got to GoFundMe. We're rustling. Right now, they're doing the Pitbulls documentary as well. Balls Mahoney documentary. Working on that. Right now, we are partners with the Albany Wrestling Hall of Fame in Albany, New York. They have the male part of it. We have the women's part of it. So they were gracious enough to, invite us with them. They have a 15,000 seat arena there. So one day we will fill that and we will pack it. So, that's what we're doing right now. And January 17th, I will be in Toms River, New Jersey. Those of you that are watching for Find Yourself Wrestling. It's a promoter that stiffed me once for some cash. I had to slap, give him a beating a little bit. I'm sure a lot of you guys heard about that. Promoters don't pay. You're going to get a beating. He got a beating. So I give a person a second and third chance. I have no problem with that as long as he pays me ahead of time, and that's what he does. So it's all cool. You know what I'm saying? And Ellsworth will be on the show. Brian Kendrick will be on the show. And then I think another guy named Teddy Hart might be popping in on that show. And Dilf himself will be there. And also on the 17th, just so you guys know, it will be videotaped for Fight TV. It might be live. I'm not exactly sure. We may have to check into that. But December 17th is a crazy, crazy show. And make sure you guys definitely check it out. The Pitbull Revolution will be there. It'll be the first time you will see the Mad Dogs of War, the original pack of us. And we will be on TV, live Fight TV, and you can see that. We'll be doing a big ceremony for our Pitbull 2 that is not here no more. Where we show him he's always with us, and we always show him respect against the new triple threat. You got to check it out. Shane Douglas and me go face to face again. That doesn't mean the heat still ain't there. He did break my neck. I had to wear that halo for 6 weeks, man. That fucking sucked. Okay? And they didn't want to do shit until I begged them to. And finally they realized, okay, you're going to be okay. So the doctor said 6 months. I waited 8 months, and then we did the angle. So believe me, I still been wrestling Shane Douglas all over the country. And I've been whooping his ass from state to state. So it's going to be a good match. I got an awesome fucking team. And it's even going to be better when you see what I got next up my sleeve. You know what I'm saying? I think
Absolutely.
you guys definitely check it out. If you're not going to be there, definitely see it on Fight TV. I think that's where it's going to be.
Well, I'll definitely be checking it out on Fight TV. And had I been lucky enough to get a ticket, I absolutely would have been there too. Gary, where can the fans find you on social media? All your contact points, sir.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. I do Twitter. Just look up Gary Wolf. I got 2 accounts. I don't know the numbers of Twitter. It's too many numbers. But on Facebook, it's Gary Wolf. Just hit me up. I can always send you my Twitter stuff, and it's pretty, dry cut and simple like that. You know what I'm saying, man?
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for appearing on the Great North Wrestling podcast tonight. It has been a pleasure. You're absolutely one of my favorites growing up, and look forward to your projects in the future, sir.
I appreciate it. I love being on, and I really can't wait to go back to Canada. I actually miss it, and hopefully I can see you up there next time I'm up there, man.
Absolutely. Thanks again. Fans, that's it for this edition of the Great North Wrestling Podcast. We're going to be taking a holiday hiatus. So plan to be back here live January the 8th with a special guest to be announced. And have a Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy New Year. Take care.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Take care.